Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 4 of our Psychology and Happiness course. So today we're going to be talking about diet and happiness, and we're going to be specifically looking at a diet that has actually been found to improve our happiness and improve symptoms of things like anxiety and depression. Then we're going to be talking about improving our relationship with food. And then finally, we're going to be talking about the brain building power of exercise. So let's jump into diet and happiness first. So, research has found that our gut communicates with our brain intimately through a communication network known as the gut-brain axis. So, activities in our brain affect our gut, and activities in our gut have a direct effect on our brain. So, for example, have you ever noticed that when you get nervous, you literally feel butterflies in your stomach? Also, research has found that those with digestive disorders like irritable bowel syndrome have depression and anxiety rates that are double that of the normal population. And doctor and professor of medicine, Dr. Tarar, said that one possible explanation of the significantly higher rates of depression and anxiety in these patients is the gut brain axis. So, microbes, which are bacteria in our gut, play an important role in the production of serotonin and other neurochemicals that our brain uses to regulate our moods and emotions. And amazingly, 95% of serotonin is actually produced in our gut. And low levels of serotonin are linked to depression. In fact, the most commonly used medications to treat depression, which are SSRIs and SNRIs, work by increasing serotonin. And research suggests that healthy gut microbiome, which is the collection of microbes in our gut, may be important in the processing of serotonin and other neurotransmitters that our brain uses to regulate our mood and emotions. In fact, a team of researchers said in the Harvard Review of Psychiatry that a growing body of literature shows that the gut microbiome plays a shaping role in a variety of psychiatric disorders, including major depressive disorder. So, our diet plays a big role in the health of our microbiome. So, one way to improve our mood and mental health is to improve our diet by choosing a diet that promotes a healthy gut microbiome. So now let's talk about the ideal diet for our microbiome. So although additional research is still needed to prove causation, research suggests that diets rich in fruits and vegetables and low in processed foods, sugar, and red meats, such as the Mediterranean diet, can increase happiness and even improve symptoms of depression and anxiety. Okay, so let's talk about the Mediterranean diet. So this diet is loaded with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, fish, lean meats, and olive oil. And according to the Cleveland Clinic, it focuses on plant-based foods and healthy fats while allowing for versatility and creativity. And the goals, long-term health and longevity. So the Mediterranean diet is also recommended by the American Heart Association. And according to the American Heart Association, this diet has also been touted as the healthiest by many expert health organizations and registered dietitians. Okay, and improving our mental health and our happiness is not the only benefit of this diet. So, in addition to supporting a healthy gut, research has also found that the Mediterranean diet also lowers our risk of cardiovascular disease and mortality, supports a healthy body weight when combined with other healthy lifestyle choices, supports healthy blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol, decreases our risk of metabolic syndrome, decreases our risk of certain types of cancers, decreases our risk of age-related diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, and improves cognitive functioning and helps us live longer. Okay, so the research that has come out about this diet is incredible. So let's talk a little bit more about the Mediterranean diet. So this diet can look a little different from person to person based on our body's specific needs. We're going to talk about what this diet generally looks like for most of us. So there are a lot of specific numbers of serving recommendations in this table, but try not to take these numbers so literally. They are just here to give you an idea of which food groups the Mediterranean diet focuses on and which food groups this diet limits. So let's talk about the first food group, which is fruits and vegetables. So the serving goal is for fruits, it's 3 servings a day, and for vegetables, at least 3 servings a day. And the serving size for fruit is a half a cup to 1 cup, and for vegetables, a half a cup cooked or 1 cup raw. And some tips for this food group: have at least 1 serving of vegetables each meal and choose fruit as a snack. Okay, the next food group, whole grains and starchy vegetables like potatoes, peas, and corn. So the serving goal for this group is 3 to 6 servings a day, and the serving size is a half a cup of cooked grains, pasta or cereal, one slice of bread, or 1 cup of dry cereal. And some tips for this food group is choose oats, barley, quinoa, or brown rice. Bake or roast red skin potatoes or sweet potatoes. Choose whole grain bread, cereal, and pasta, and limit or avoid refined carbohydrates because it's really those whole grains that are really good for our bodies. So as you can kind of see so far from this table is the Mediterranean diet really focuses on fruits and vegetables and whole grains. Okay, the next food group is extra virgin olive oil. And this really is the type of fat that the Mediterranean focuses on because it has a lot of those monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats that are really good for our cardiovascular health. So the serving goal for this food is 1 to 4 servings a day. The serving size is 1 tablespoon. And some tips, use instead of vegetable oil and animal fats like butter, sour cream, and mayo, because these types of fats have more of those saturated fats that are not necessarily good for our cardiovascular health. Also drizzle on salads, cooked veggies, or pasta. Okay, the next food group is legumes, which are beans and lentils. So the serving goal for this is 3 servings a day. And the serving size is about half a cup. And some tips for this food group is add to salads, soups, and pasta dishes. Try hummus or bean dip with raw veggies, and opt for a veggie or bean burger, maybe rather than a meat burger, right? So this is another group that the Mediterranean diet really focuses on. Hey, the next food group is fish. So the serving goal is 3 servings a week, and the serving size is 3 to 4 ounces. And some tips for fish. Choose fish rich in omega-3s like salmon, sardines, herring, tuna, and mackerel. And these omega-3s are actually very important because they're actually really, really good for our brain health. Okay, the next food group is nuts. So the serving goal for nuts is at least 3 servings a week, and the serving size is 1/4 cup of nuts or 2 tablespoons of nut butter. So some tips for nuts. Ideally, choose walnuts, almonds, and hazelnuts. And this is because these types of nuts specifically have those poly and monounsaturated fats that are really good for our health. Add to cereal, salad, and yogurt, and choose raw, unsalted, and dry roasted varieties. Okay, the next food group, poultry, which is chicken and turkey. So the serving goal is no more than once daily, fewer may be better. So the Mediterranean diet actually really limits meats and focuses more on plant-based proteins. So the serving size for poultry is 3 ounces. And some tips, choose white meat instead of dark meat because the white meat tends to be a little bit healthier for us. Eat in place of red meats. Choose skinless poultry or remove the skin before cooking. And bake, broil, or grill it to prepare it. Okay, now dairy. So no more than once daily, fewer may be better. And the serving size is 1 cup of milk or yogurt and 1.5 ounces of natural cheese. Okay, so some tips, choose naturally low-fat cheese and choose fat-free or 1% milk, yogurt, and cottage cheese. Okay, now eggs. So the serving goal is up to 1 yolk a day. So the serving size is 1 egg or 1 yolk and white. So the reason the Mediterranean diet encourages us to limit egg yolks is because they tend to be high in cholesterol, which can be really bad for our cardiovascular health. So some tips, limit the egg yolks, but there's no limit on egg whites. Egg whites are really good for our health. And if you have high cholesterol, have no more than 4 yolks per week. Okay, the next food group is red meat like beef, pork, veal, and lamb. So the serving goal for red meat is none or no more than 1 serving a week. So the Mediterranean diet really encourages us to really try to avoid or really limit red meat because red meat has a lot of those saturated fats that can be bad for our cardiovascular health. So the serving size for red meat is 3 ounces. And some tips, limit to lean cuts such as tenderloin, sirloin, and flank steak. Okay, now baked goods and desserts, our last food group. So avoid commercially prepared baked goods and desserts. And this is because these are more highly processed. And limit homemade goods to no more than 3 servings a week. So the serving size varies by type. And some tips, instead choose fruit and non-fat yogurt in place of these baked goods and desserts. And bake using liquid oil instead of solid fat because the liquid oil has more of those healthy fats that are good for our health. Also use whole grain flour instead of bleached or enriched flour. And use egg whites instead of whole eggs because like we talked about, those egg yolks can be high in cholesterol. So something important I want to note before we move on. So according to Dr. Jacka, the director of Food and Mood Center at Deakin University in Australia, and the president of the International Society for Nutritional Psychiatry Research, mental health problems are very complex. So diet alone will not cure depression. However, it can and should be used in combination with other evidence-based interventions, like taking medication prescribed by a physician and receiving psychotherapy to treat and improve mental health problems. Okay. A little warning about diets too before we move on. So in our appearance-based society, diet culture has become widespread and invasive. And diet culture refers to a system of beliefs that equates thinness with health and moral value and demands that we devote our precious time, money, and energy to the noble pursuit of weight loss. And according to expert registered dietitians, a substantial body of research shows that dieting is not sustainable and leads to a host of problems, including eating disorders, food and body preoccupation, distraction from other personal health goals, reduced self-esteem, weight stigmatization, discrimination, and paradoxically, weight gain. So, according to the Cleveland Clinic, the Mediterranean diet is not a fad diet with strict rules and restrictions. Rather, it is a lifestyle, a way of eating that's meant to stick with us for the long term. So you don't have to feel beholden to stressful, stringent guidelines that seem impossible to follow. So, something important to note, the Mediterranean diet presented in this class is a set of guidelines on healthy food choices that can optimize our physical and mental health. It is not a fad diet that sets strict rules that are overly restricting and that lead to feelings of guilt and deprivation. Okay, the key to healthy eating is balance and improving our relationship with food. So now let's talk about our relationship with food. So according to experts, our relationship with food is frequently about mitigating emotional discomfort. For example, one may restrict food as a way to deal with shame. Additionally, one may overeat to deal with feelings of stress, anxiety, loneliness, frustration, or feeling overwhelmed. Also, when one is mindlessly eating, they may be in a state of mild dissociation, which is a defense mechanism that compels the person to subtly detach from reality and escape their emotional distress. So, in other words, mindless eating is a form of mild dissociation that allows us to temporarily escape from our emotional pain. And using food to cope with our difficult emotions may work in the short term. However, using food to soothe our emotional pain, it causes greater distress in the long term because it often leads to increased negative feelings, feelings of shame, guilt, and regret, and can damage our physical health. Feeling trapped in this pattern can take a toll on our happiness and well-being. But the good news is that we can break this pattern. So now let's talk about ways to improve our relationship with food. So the first way is to become an intuitive eater. So intuitive eating involves learning to recognize and trust your body, including your hunger, satiety, and fullness cues. Rather than imposing harsh restrictions that, like most diets do, intuitive eating teaches gentleness, kindness, and compassion to promote healthy eating behaviors and improve our relationship with food. And a group of researchers reviewed 97 studies that explored intuitive eating and found that intuitive eating is associated with increased well-being, positive body image, and feelings of self-worth, and lower rates of disordered eating behaviors. So now let's talk about how to become an intuitive eater. So expert registered dietitians created the Intuitive Eating Workbook to teach intuitive eating. And in this workbook, you'll explore 10 principles, including reject diet mentality, honor your hunger, make peace with food, challenge the food police, discover the satisfaction, feel your fullness, cope with your emotions with kindness, respect your body, movement, and honor your health with gentle nutrition. So I know these 10 principles may seem pretty general, but I want to note that this workbook is pretty thick. It's like that thick. So it really dives deep into each of these principles and gets really into the specifics. So you will learn a lot from this workbook. So who's this workbook for? It's for everyone. You can work through this workbook alone, with a group, or with your therapist. However, for those who have been diagnosed with an eating disorder, it is recommended that you work through this workbook with your treatment team. And where can you get this workbook? Well, it can be purchased on Amazon for $17.29. So if you just go to Amazon and search the Intuitive Eating Workbook, it should show up as one of the top 5 results. But something important I want to note is the primary purpose of this workbook is not to get you to lose weight. Okay, the primary purpose of this workbook is to improve your relationship with food by identifying maladaptive beliefs about food and behaviors with food and shifting them to healthier and more adaptive beliefs and behaviors. If you have extra weight as a result of maladaptive beliefs and behaviors about food, you may consequentially lose weight. But that is not the primary purpose of this workbook. Okay. Hey, the next way to improve our relationship with food is coping with difficult emotions more effectively. So, the first way we can do this is learning to sit with painful emotions. So, accepting difficult emotions rather than trying to avoid them ironically decreases their intensity. So, sitting with difficult emotions involves recognizing what emotions you're feeling, so naming them, identifying what triggered them, recognizing what information and signals they're giving you, because while difficult emotions can be uncomfortable, they do have important functions. For example, anxiety alerts us of threats and motivates us to seek solutions quickly, and anger motivates us to seek mediation. And then responding to them rather than reacting to them. So remember, emotions are just emotions, so they do not need to control our behaviors. So rather than impulsively responding to uncomfortable emotions with unhealthy eating behaviors, we can choose to respond with active coping strategies, such as journaling, listening to music, going for a walk, calling a friend, resolving the conflict or problem causing the emotional pain, watching a funny movie, exercising, doing a favorite hobby, okay, things like that. Then letting them pass without ruminating on them. So instead of holding on onto them, letting them pass. Okay, the second way is to reach out for social support. And like we talked about in previous classes, connecting with our loved ones actually decreases cortisol, the stress hormone in our body, and alleviates emotional pain. Okay, the third way to deal with difficult emotions more effectively is through mindfulness meditation. So, according to Harvard, meditation helps us become more mindful of our eating behaviors. So, as we practice meditation, we may be able to pay better attention to our impulsive, unhealthy eating behaviors that arise when we experience negative emotions and instead respond with healthier behaviors. Additionally, and as we talked about in our last class, meditation actually decreases the size of the amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain and where our negative thoughts and emotions come from. And as we decrease the size of a portion in our brain, we actually decrease that area of the brain's activation. So as we practice mindfulness meditation and decrease the size of the amygdala, we actually will experience less negative thoughts and emotions in our lives. Okay, and we're actually going to be talking more about mindfulness meditation in the next class. And specifically, we'll be talking about actually how to do it. So hold on to this concept just for a bit longer. Okay, another way to improve our relationship with food is by changing our unhealthy eating habits. And we can do this by creating a food diary. And this is where you write down everything you eat and when. And you also note how you felt when you decided to eat. So were you hungry, not hungry, tired, stressed, bored, things like that. Then highlight the unhealthy habits and triggers that led you to those habits. For instance, if you saw that you mindlessly ate when you did not feel hungry, what emotion did you note in your journal that you felt before you started to eat mindlessly? Also, what event or thought led to that emotion? What time of the day was it? And where were you? So, noting all of those details. Then look at a few of the habits and triggers that you have highlighted and ask yourself if there's a healthier way you can deal with those triggers. Then make a plan of how you will deal with your triggers in more productive ways in the future. So, for example, if you find that you commonly mindlessly eat when you are not hungry after work due to feelings of burnout, is there something you could do differently to manage this feeling? Decide on a healthier way to deal with that trigger, like going for a walk, calling a friend, watching a funny movie, doing a favorite hobby, taking a bath, those types of things. And then make a plan to use this new coping behavior instead of the unhealthy one, right? Because when we feel these difficult emotions, we may for a long time have just been automatically responding with unhealthy behaviors. So these unhealthy behaviors are just automatic responses. So we really need to have a plan in place so that we can respond to these more difficult emotions more effectively and break those habits. Okay, then practicing replacing the new healthier behavior with the old unhealthy behavior. So remember, breaking old habits and creating new ones takes time and consistency because we are getting rid of old neural pathways in our brains that make our unhealthy behaviors automatic and creating new ones that will make healthier habits more automatic. And this process takes time. So be patient with yourself and with the process. Okay, then finally, keep reinforcing the new habits. So it's okay to make mistakes as you try to get rid of your old habits and replace them with new ones. If you catch yourself slipping up, show yourself compassion. Recognize that changing habits is difficult and speak to yourself kindly rather than with criticisms. Then gently shift your behavior to the healthier planned one. Okay. And the important thing is to just not give up. Okay. Another way to improve our relationship with food is cultivating self compassion. So, studies show that self compassion is associated with positive body image and healthy eating behaviors. And as a reminder from last class, self compassion consists of three things: so, mindfulness, self kindness, and common humanity. So, using self compassion in the context of improving our relationship with food should involve being mindful and aware of our struggles with our relationship with food, including things like body image and unhealthy eating behaviors. Also, using self compassion in this context should involve self kindness, which would include showing ourselves understanding, empathy, and kindness towards ourselves and our bodies rather than criticizing our bodies and ourselves for our unhealthy eating behaviors. Finally, using self-compassion in this context should involve common humanity, which would include recognizing that many of us struggle with unhealthy eating behaviors and poor body image. And this recognition helps us to not feel alone in our relationship with food and our bodies. And as we talked about in last class, research shows that this sense of connectedness really is a strength that we can draw on during hard times. And to cultivate more self compassion, there are free exercises created and offered for free on Dr. Kristen Neff's website at selfcompassion.org. And if you remember from last class, Dr. Neff is the leading expert on self compassion. So I highly recommend going to her website and looking through these wonderful exercises. The important thing to remember about these self compassion exercises is that they must be practiced regularly. With practice and patience, we truly can cultivate more self-compassion in our lives over time. Okay, the fifth way to improve our relationship with food is seeking professional help. So cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, used by licensed and trained mental health professionals, can help us discover unproductive thinking patterns that lead us to our unhealthy eating behaviors and then can help us replace them with more productive ones. Okay, so this is also a really important tool that we can use to improve our relationship with food. So now let's talk about exercise and happiness. So something I hope you take away from today's class is that exercise is not about weight loss. It is about improving our health and well-being. So promoting a healthy weight for our bodies is only one benefit of exercise. There are many more amazing benefits of exercise that help improve our mental and physical health. According to studies and experts, exercise improves the structure and function of the brain. So it improves neurogenesis, which is the growth of new brain cells. And it improves neurogenesis by increasing BDNF, also known as the Miracle-Gro of the brain. It also improves neuroplasticity in general, which is the brain's ability to adapt and change by creating and strengthening new neural pathways and getting rid of old, unused ones. So neurogenesis and neuroplasticity are important because they are what makes it possible for us to change maladaptive behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, and habits to more adaptive ones that promote our health and well-being. So this is a really important benefit of exercise. Also, exercise has been found to be beneficial to different regions of the brain. So for example, exercise increases the size of the hippocampus, and this is the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. And like we touched on earlier, as we increase the size of a certain area of the brain, we increase its activation. Also, it increases the size of the prefrontal cortex, and this is part of the brain responsible for rational thinking and decision making. And according to neuroscientist and professor of neuroscience, Dr. Wendy Suzuki, these are the two areas of the brain that are most susceptible to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia. So Dr. Suzuki and other researchers have actually found that exercise improves our susceptibility to these neurodegenerative diseases and improves our overall memory and cognitive performance. So this is also really a really important benefit of exercise. Also, exercise releases endorphins like dopamine and serotonin, which can relieve stress, improve our mood, and relieve symptoms of mild anxiety and depression. So also a really important benefit of exercise. Okay, and these are not the only benefits of exercise. According to writings by researchers in the Journal of Applied Physiology, exercise can also decrease our risk of a range of chronic disorders. Okay, and all of these disorders, there's so many of them, I couldn't even fit them on the slide. So I'm just going to read through a couple just to give you an idea. So it can decrease our risk of things like breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, immune dysfunctions, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoporosis, and a range of neurological dysfunctions. Okay, so I hope that from all of this information, you've really learned that exercise really is beneficial for so many reasons, for our mental health, for our brain function, and for our physical health. Okay, but before we move on, I just want to just state that something that's really important is before you start an exercise routine, it's really important to consult with your doctor so that you choose an exercise program that is the healthiest for your specific body and your body's needs. Okay, so that's really important. So let's talk about exercise types. So there are two types of exercise that we should incorporate into our weekly routines. The first is aerobic exercise, also known as cardio. And this involves moderate or vigorous intensity. It increases our heart rate and makes us breathe harder. So examples of aerobic activity include things like jogging, biking, brisk walking, dancing, yard work, things like that. And this type of exercise is the one we should be doing the most because it strengthens our hearts and improves our blood circulation throughout our whole bodies. And this blood circulation is important because it keeps all of our organs, including our brains, healthy and working properly. Okay, the next type of exercise is muscle strengthening. So this type of exercise is best when you work all of the body's major muscle groups, including arms, legs, chest, abs, shoulders, back, and hips. So examples of this type of exercise include squats, crunches, elastic bands, free weights, things like that. And this type of exercise is important because it builds muscle, which increases our metabolism, strengthens our bones, and improves our flexibility and balance. Okay, now let's talk about general exercise needs according to experts. So in general, preschool aged kids, which are kids aged 3 to 5 years old, should be physically active throughout the day in general. Kids who are 6 to 17 years old need about 1 hour or more of physical activity per day in general. And then adults, anyone who's over the age of 18, need about 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity every week, and at least 2 days of muscle strengthening activity per week in general. But like I said before, it's really important to consult with your doctor before starting an exercise program because they can help you find an exercise program that really fits your body's needs that will be healthiest for you. So, some tips by the CDC to help us get and stay active. Number one, and like we've talked about a couple times, talk to your doctor, especially if you have a chronic condition like heart disease or type 2 diabetes before starting an exercise program. Number two, start slowly and increase time, intensity, and frequency every week. Okay. Number three, invite your friends and family to get active with you, right? Because inviting our friends and family for that support, that can increase our motivation. Okay. Number four, plan exercise into your daily or weekly schedule. So if we plan something, the more we plan something, the more likely we will actually do it. Okay, number five, schedule exercise for times in the day when you are most energetic. And number six, park your car further away or walk to your nearby destinations. And I really like this last tip because as we do little things like that throughout the day, it will increase our overall amount of activity throughout the entire day. So I really like this last tip that the CDC gave. Also, another way we can stay active is by making exercise a habit by creating SMART goals about exercise. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. And these types of goals help you to specify what your goals are and how you'll achieve them. So creating SMART goals will help us better achieve our goals. And a SMART template can actually be found on this page for you to download and can actually be found at positivepsychology.com. And this template is great and will walk you through how to make SMART goals. So go check out this template to make exercise goals or any other goals that you'd like to make in your life. Okay, now let's talk about staying motivated with our goals. So, an important part of achieving our goals is identifying and connecting with the motivations behind our goals. So, best-selling author and businessman Michael Hyatt suggests the following to maintain motivation with our goals, and I love his recommendations. So, the first is connect with your why. So, why is this goal important to you? Write down your reasons, prioritize them, and then connect with them. His next suggestion is master your self motivation. So, identify and anticipate the reward of achieving your goal. So, close your eyes and visualize receiving the reward. What does it look like? And how does receiving the reward make you feel? Okay, and recognize your intrinsic motivators. So, this is what is personal to you. So, the internal rewards, rather than focusing so much on the external rewards like popularity, financial gains, things like that. So, intrinsic motivation increases the likelihood that we will achieve our goals more so than those external motivators. Okay, his third suggestion is to build your team. So, who can help you achieve your goal? Your friends and family can help keep you motivated by providing support, accountability, and encouragement. Okay, so really important to build your team. So, in summary, due to the gut brain axis, the health of our gut plays an important role in our mental health, and diet plays an important role in our gut health. The Mediterranean diet has been found to promote gut health. Our relationship with food is frequently about mitigating emotional discomfort. And things that we can do to improve our relationship with food include learning intuitive eating, coping with emotional pain more effectively. So, learning to sit with uncomfortable emotions, reaching out for social support, practicing mindfulness meditation daily, things like that. Okay, another way to improve our relationship with food is changing unhealthy eating habits. So, creating a food diary, highlighting the habits and triggers, asking yourself, is there a healthier way that you can deal with those triggers? Making a plan, practicing the plan, and then reinforcing the plan. Also, cultivating self compassion and seeking professional help. All right. And physical exercise improves brain function and structure and promotes physical health. SMART goals can help us formulate achievable goals. And suggestions to maintain motivation with your goals include connecting with your why, master self motivation, and build your team. Okay. And like I've talked about in other classes, these are general scientific backed ways to improve your happiness and well being. However, if you find that you are doing these things on a daily basis and after time your happiness and well being has not been improved, I highly recommend connecting with a therapist, because a therapist can really provide you with that more individualized care that can give you more specific tools, resources, and education for your specific circumstances. So, if you'd like to be connected with a therapist, just reach out to this number found at the bottom of your screen. And this number can help connect you with one of our amazing therapists at Connection Family Wellness. Okay, and next time we're going to be talking about stress management. So one thing we'll be talking about finally is mindfulness meditation. So we'll be looking at more benefits of that and specifically how to do it. But we'll also be looking at other scientific backed ways that can help us manage our stress more effectively. So this class will be a great class that can provide you some great tools to help you and your loved ones increase your happiness, well-being. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope I'll see you next time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.